Palestinian group Hamas announced the names of 4 Israeli female soldier hostages to be released today in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in the second swap under the ceasefire deal in Gaza. The hostages are Karina Ariev, Daniela Gilboa, Naama, Levy, as well as Liri Albag. They're all members of a military surveillance unit posted near to Gaza when Hamas's October 7th, 2023 attack occurred. So the exchange follows the release of 3 Israeli women and 90 Palestinian prisoners, the first such exchange in more than a year, on Sunday. So for more on this, we have SABC News international editor Sophie Mokoena on the line. Well, Sophie, good morning. If you can hear us, thank you for making time. Perhaps this leg of the ceasefire, talk to us about the expectations, perhaps also what's happening in terms of aid into the Gaza region.
Well, of course, as you pointed out, yesterday Hamas released the names of 4 people who will be released today. These are women and they are soldiers, Israeli soldiers, and therefore we expect the continuation of agreement to happen today, and we expect Israel to release Palestinians who were taken to Israel jails. As you know that during the standoff and even before the standoff after the 7th of October, many Palestinians have been languishing in jail in Israel. And among them, it's just innocent people, children, women, not necessarily your Hamas members or your soldiers or people in the front line. And therefore, we expect them to be released today. And in relation to the issue of humanitarian assistance, we know that since the first phase was implemented last week Saturday, we saw trucks making their way to Gaza. But when you look at that, you'll find that, yes, you have these trucks going there, but there's more need in terms of speed up this process and have more trucks going in there, because people who are in that area, in the enclave, are really, really suffering. And for the first time, we get a better sense of what's prevailing in Gaza when you look at those drones, videos and pictures, that Gaza is literally in ruins and there's nothing, there's no life. Even going back, what are they going to rebuild? With what? Getting it from where? And you can see that people are scrambling and checking the rubble, and they getting to places where they find those who died when they were fleeing and leaving behind those who were injured. It's a very, very terrible, terrible situation in that area of Palestine, the enclave.
Sophie, thank you for speaking to the issue of the reconstruction of Gaza in that enclave, given, the reality on the ground that we have been able to witness. I wonder if we're also just looking at the likelihood of that second and third phases being reached. What has been reflected on that front in terms of, the agreement that had been reached, perhaps also the domestic politics of Israel, how that's influencing dynamics?
Well, I think everybody's hoping that we will get to the second phase. But the issue here is that during this first phase, the two sides and those who are facilitating the talks, they must engage in talks in relation to the implementation of the second phase. Now, when you listen to what Israel is saying, it's not guaranteed that we'll reach to that point. And I think Benjamin Netanyahu and his cabinet agreed because he was under pressure from Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is so unpredictable. We don't know in the coming days what will be his position. As long as Donald Trump is pushing Israel to continue with the agreement, that will happen because they need support from Israel, from America. That is why many of us kept saying, if America can stop assisting Israel with arms and money and all of that, this war will end. But Joe Biden didn't do that. Now, Israel is watching whether America will continue to have them. If they say they won't, we are likely to see the second and the third phase. It's even more complicated because interest of countries will come in terms of rebuilding of Gaza. And therefore, this ceasefire agreement in totality, 1, 2, 3, it's very, very delicate. And I think international community must continue to put pressure on both sides to honor the agreement. And that is why Hamas released the name yesterday to try and demonstrate commitment. So now we want to see whether Israel will continue with the agreement, but it is going to be a difficult week next week when they have to start to negotiate the implementation of a second phase.
So, Sophie, we know that 7 of the 33 hostages will be released today if, all unfolds as agreed. I wonder if we could just speak to the phases that is set to occur. For those who've tuned in and do not have context to that, walk us through what the expectations are on that front in line with the agreement. But then also, just if we're looking at the issue of statehood at large for Palestine, what are some of the sentiments that come to the fore there, especially whether the gap has now been widened, given the prospects of a two-state solution or not?
The two-state solution, it's a non-issue right now. It's just a phrase there because both sides have indicated that the two-state solution, it will be difficult to implement. I mean, look, we are struggling with the implementation of ceasefire. It doesn't entail difficult clauses. The issue of a two-state solution gets even more complicated. There's a full feature that we compiled yesterday from the 7th of October up to where we are. In that feature, we included the soundbite of the former South African President, Mokoena, talking about how complicated it is now to implement the two-state solution, even saying maybe it must be one state almost with federal perspective, because it's a non-issue now, and it is going to be difficult to agree to that. While we are worried, the world is worried that even the second phase will be difficult to implement, and the third phase even more complex. And therefore, the issue of a two-state solution is a phrase from many people, but we are not even there.
Okay. All right, Sophie. And just in terms of the phases set to, occur from here on two, as phase 1, draws to a close, we obviously see the preparation for the next phases. Walk us through what is the expectations on that front, just for those who've tuned in as we wrap.
Well, I think we know the second phase will entail releasing more hostages and more Palestinians, including the bodies of those who have passed on. And then the third phase, as I pointed out, it gets even more complicated because it talks to the rebuilding. There's going to be a scramble for who is going to rebuild Gaza because it involves money, and therefore interest of countries will come in. So, and also you have to finalize this issue, permanent solution. That entails that suggestion of a two-state solution. These are now hard global politics with interest of power and also balance of power globally.
All right, Sophie, so we are monitoring those developments rather closely as the clock ticks on. Thank you for joining us and for painting that picture at this hour. Hamas has identified 4 female Israeli soldiers to be released on Saturday. SABC News international editor Sophie Mokoena.